Alright, welcome to another A Modest analysis, this time of Super Auto Pets, which is out in beta. It's free to play on both your phone as well as on Steam. I have the music off right now because, if I turn it on, it's catchy, neat, whatever, but it's also really loud, and there's no volume control. So, yeah, that's absolutely something that I feel like every game should have. I mean, a music slider, a sound slider to adjust the volume levels. Not only because, streaming and recording and YouTube and everything is a thing, and it really helps us content creators to be able to adjust that. I'm going to turn that off. It really helps content creators being able to adjust the volume and sounds. Also, just if you're a player and you, for whatever reason, say you're wearing a headset like I am right now, and you have it on the lowest possible volume where you can still hear it, and it's still super loud, it would be really nice to have a little slider. That's all I'm saying, just a slider. In any case, so I will go into the arena and show you how the game plays in a moment. But first things first, we need to look at the monetization of this game. So there's cosmetics, hats. You either buy the early adopter hat for money, I assume, or you spend points on various little hats, like pirate hat or whatever. Yeah, pirate hat sounds good, why not? And you can also get points by playing to buy hats other than the early adopter hat. That's how you get those points. Backgrounds, you can either spend a lot of points. I've got 1,000. I've played a good bit of this game over the last several days, and yeah, it's enjoyable. But the maps you either buy or you spend 5,000 points on, or 500 points. But yeah, so that's, as far as I can tell, that's their monetization plan. That, and you can buy the expansion, which gives you different pets. But I'm concerned that they have not considered monetization enough. Unless they're planning on it going paid once it gets out of beta, if it's just free for now or something. But yeah, it's a trap that I find a lot of developers fall into, where they think that free to play is the future, but they don't spend any time figuring out how they're going to pay for development, or expansions, or just to pay their people anything. So hopefully they've got plans for that once it gets full release. Until then, yeah. Free to play with no monetization that I can see actually working is a concern. Maybe they'll add more cosmetic stuff in the future. I don't know. But that is the biggest. Like, I'm just gonna start off saying that if I were to make an auto battler, I would want it to be as clean systemically as this game is, because unlike most games I play, I actually, after having played through it a lot, I have not found a single way that I would change the game systems at all. I think it's actually, dare I say, perfect, exactly the way it systemically works. Units can be balanced and tweaked and changed, more units can be added, whatever. That's not what A Modest Analysis is about, though. I'm specifically here to talk about, okay, at a systemic level, how could things be changed for a different experience? And as I'm going to show you over this episode and the next part, the arena and versus mode cover a lot of that variation that I would suggest. And so they already have, on a systemic level, the option to modify things. But we'll get into that once I actually show you how it plays. For now, let's just, so that I don't have to spend forever looking at every unit in the shop when it comes up. Actually, maybe that would be a better way of doing it. There are a lot of units. I don't feel like pausing every battle and going over every unit we come across, so I'm just going to give you the quick rundown. Feel free to download it. Again, it's free on Steam or on your phone, and take a look at the units yourself. But I'm going to give a quick overview. Ants, whenever they die, they give a buff to a friend. Beavers, whenever you sell them, they give a buff to a friend. Crickets respawn into another cricket. Ducks, whenever you sell them, give a buff to all the unpurchased pets at that point. I've actually got a video coming out on the duck soon. Probably tomorrow. Actually, I'm just going to say definitely tomorrow. Day after this gets up, the duck episode's coming up. Fish, whenever it levels up, it gives everything on your roster a buff. Horse, whenever you summon something, it gets a bonus attack until the end of the battle. So, when you resummon, like the cricket, it gives it. And if you buy a pet, the horse temporarily gives it a bonus attack. Mosquitoes deal random damage at the start of the battle. Otters give a buff to a friend. This is a permanent buff whenever you buy it. So you can literally just buy otters to buff your other members and then sell them. Pigs, you're just banking gold. That's all the pig does. Crabs, copy the health of the friend ahead. So if you have a way of buffing its attack, it can be pretty good. But there's never a reason to upgrade it because it's literally the same. Doesn't matter how high of a level the crab gets to, its ability stays the same. So every time you upgrade it, it's just giving it +1/+1. Dodos. Dodos are actually the strongest tier 2 in my opinion. They, at the start of the battle, give their attack to the friend ahead. If you get them to level 2, they give double their attack, and if you get them to level 3, they give triple the attack. If you can get your Dodo leveled up, statted up, then that 2 times or 3 times their attack can get very massive, and it's very easy later in the game to have a Dodo maxing somebody's attack out, and the max of either stat, attack or defense, attack or health, is 50. So once you get a pet to 50/50, it's maxed out. Dogs, whenever a friend is summoned, they gain 1 attack or 1 health. If it's in a battle, it's only until the end of the battle. If it's in the shop, it's permanent. Dogs, I feel like dogs are actually a trap unless you can get them to level 2 or level 3 very quickly. I see a lot of people late game still have dogs that are only level 2, and it just makes me sad. There are much better units to put in those slots, no matter how big the dog got early game. Elephants are absolutely a trap. Level 1, they're useful combined with hurt animals, which I'll show you those whenever we get to them. But they're good with hurt animals for the mid-game, because every time they attack, they deal 1 damage to whoever's behind them. So any animal that does something when it's hurt automatically triggers every time the elephant attacks. However, if you level it up to level 2 or level 3, it starts hurting more of your team. Not only is that bad unless you have everyone with hurt abilities, it's also bad because it means it does more damage to your team as it gets bigger. So, yeah, that's a trap as far as I'm concerned. Flamingos, when they die, they give the 2 friends behind them a buff, and that's just until end of battle, unless you kill them using the sleeping pill, which is an item you can buy, at which point the buff is permanent. The Hedgehog, when it dies, it does damage to everything. Your units, enemy units, all of them. So, Hedgehog is very dangerous. If it goes off wrong, then it can be bad. I have seen interesting use of Hedgehog. We'll get to the whale in a second, but I saw somebody use Hedgehog, whale, Hedgehog. So, at the start of the battle, the whale swallowed the Hedgehog, which dealt 2 damage to everything, which killed the other Hedgehog, which did 2 damage to everything. And the whale had enough health that it didn't die immediately. So if it didn't automatically kill the entire enemy team, the whale lived and they won. Or if they killed the whale and then killed the other Hedgehog, it another 2 damage to everyone. So unless they had units in the back that had more than 6 health, they were able to get a draw, which draws let you get later in the game. But we'll talk about draws in a second. Peacocks, anytime they're hurt, they gain attack. They're good for the early game. After that, they fall off really hard. Rats are just bad. I have never seen a situation where a rat did anything successfully. Like, best case scenario, you're able to kill the 1/1 rat after you kill all of their enemy team. Worst case scenario, the rat lives and you lose. The only way that I could see the rat being successful, because it gives your opponent a 1/1 unit. And yes, the 1/1 unit does damage to the unit in front of it every time they attack. But if everything dies, like, yeah, it's just a 1/1 unit left after you've killed everyone else that successfully wins for the enemy team. Potentially. If it suicided, if it killed itself at the end of the round, and didn't give the opponent a win, then okay, it would be useful. But, yeah. You literally just buy rat early game because it's a 4/5, and you just hope you're able to kill the 1/1 rat you generate for the enemies. Shrimp, anytime a friend is sold, you give a random friend health. It's pretty bad. Yeah, a lot of these things I know are going to get balanced as it goes through beta. So I should stop giving my opinion. Stuff that's bad can get good. Stuff that's good can get bad, based on how they do the balance changes. And again, I'm not here with a must analysis to comment on balance changes. I'm here to show you the game. I'm here to just, go over the systemic level things that they did, and what works well, and what I would change. And unless I think of something while I'm demonstrating it, I'm fairly confident that they did a spectacular job with systems. So, Spider, whenever it dies, it summons a tier higher pet as a 2/2, 4/4, or 6/6, which is useful early. Again, I'm going to stop giving my opinions. Swan is just banking gold, but you pay 3 gold for the Swan, you get 1 gold per round. If you keep it around for 3 rounds, it pays for itself. Badger, whenever it dies, it does damage to both the enemy in front and the ally behind. So, you generally put the Badger at the back of your roster, and if it dies, if it fails to win for you, it usually will kill the last enemy left, and get you a draw. But other than trying to fish for draws, Badgers are kinda whatever. I saw somebody with a whale Badger shenanigan where they killed the whale at the start of the battle. It did 5 damage to the enemy's front line, and did 5 damage to the whale carrying the Badger. Then the whale spit the Badger back out. It did its 5 damage, and then did another 5 damage when it died. But you're taking 10 damage. With that combo, you're taking 10 damage on your own team just to do that. It's not great. The Blowfish, every time it's hurt, does damage to a random enemy. The Camel, when it's hurt, it buffs the person behind it. Giraffe buffs the person ahead of it. The Camel is temporary. Anything that happens in combat is temporary. Anything that happens in the shop is permanent. So, the Giraffe just permanently buffs whoever's ahead every time you leave the shop to go to a battle. Kangaroos, whenever the friend ahead attacks, it gets a bonus. It buffs itself. So if you have a friend ahead, like say an ox, then you get multiple attacks off the ox because of the melon armor it gets, and then that buffs the kangaroo multiple times. It can actually add up really fast. The Ox, whenever a friend ahead faints, it gains melon armor, which prevents 20 damage, and then pops, and gains attack. So, it can be useful, although it falls off, because it doesn't gain any health. So, it does fall off. The Rabbit, anytime a friend eats food from the shop, which they call the items you can buy for your units food, and the Rabbit just buffs their health whenever they get food. Sheep summon rams whenever it dies. Snails, if you lost your last battle, it permanently buffs everyone on your roster. Which, I don't know why it has level 2 and level 3 abilities, unless they're planning at some point to implement the ability to buy a level 2 or level 3 unit. Yeah, that's just... question. That's a question for the developers. It's like, why do you have level 2 and level 3 snail abilities that are stronger? Unless you intend at some point to be able to buy low-level units leveled up already. Turtles. Whenever they die, they give a friend or multiple friends behind them that melon armor buff, which is plus 20 damage negated, and then it pops. Or the first attack that does damage is negated, and if it's more than 20 damage, it goes through. Whale. At the start of the battle, swallows the friend ahead and releases it again when it dies. Bison. If you have at least one level 3 friend, it buffs itself every round, permanently. The deer, when it dies, it summons a bus with splash attack. Splash attack lets you hit both of the 2 people in the front of the enemy formation. The dolphin, at the start of the battle, deals damage to the lowest health enemy. The hippo, every time it kills something, gains health. The monkey permanently buffs whoever's at the right side, whoever's your frontliner, your first person to fight, gets buffed by the monkey every round. The penguin gives anyone who's level 2 and level 3 +1, +1, +2, +2, etc. In my opinion, penguins are just worse giraffes, and also worse monkeys, depending on the situation. But just, yeah, being able to position the giraffe behind people. If you have 4 level 2s or 3s, a penguin can do more. However, getting those level 2s and 3s is costly, and you have to invest a lot into early game units. And penguin doesn't come around till late mid-game, so... whatever. The rooster, when it dies, it summons 1 or more chicks that have the same attack as the rooster. Works really good in conjunction with the dodo, because you can get 50 attack roosters, and that's brutal. Skunk, start of the battle, reduces the highest enemy health, which even, by the time you get a skunk, 33% isn't much. Either it's already a low health enemy and that does nothing, or it's a really high health enemy and you've invested so heavily in skunk that you don't have anyone who can actually kill the high health enemy even after reducing it by 33%. So skunk doesn't really get good until you level it up at least once. Squirrels clear the shop, meaning all pets and food, and fills it with food. So, early game, that's pretty bad. You're replacing potential units you can use. Well, I say early game, tier 4. But it clears the shop of units and fills it just with food. The only times that is useful, in my opinion, is whenever you're getting tier 5 food, at which point you can get multiple chocolate bars, which is effectively getting the units you want in the shop randomly. Or tier 4, you can get canned food if you're about to do a really hard pivot, and then you can buff all future pets you buy. But other than that, it's, it's not the best. Worm. I've seen worms get big, but all they do is buff themselves, and you have to invest a lot into a worm. So, worms are... let me put it this way. Unless you're getting cows, in which case you get a bunch of free food in addition to buying the cow, the worms just cost too much for what they give you. You have crocodiles, who, similar to dolphins, do damage at the start of the battle, but the dolphin does it to the lowest health enemy, which is more likely to kill, even though it's less damage, whereas the crocodile just does it to the last enemy. So if they have something at the back of their formation like a monkey that does nothing once the battle starts, crocodiles are useless. Parrots copy the ability from the pet ahead until the end of the battle, which is weird. The way it works, if you put it behind anyone who does anything at the end of the turn, it does nothing, because they copy the ability after the end of turn abilities trigger. So if you put it behind a monkey, it does not give +2/+2 or whatever to the first person. It just doesn't do anything. Likewise, if you put it behind a unit that does something that relies on, for example, the Dodo. The Dodo relies on having high attack. If you put a parrot behind a Dodo, it copies the ability, but not the stats. So, yeah, parrots are very hard to use, and sometimes they don't work the way you expect them to. Rhinos, one of the best frontliners for the late game, unless you're going with a revival comp. So they do damage to the first enemy when they kill something, which means if the enemy's running a revive comp where they just plan on spitting out more and more little people to wear you down, the Rhino, without even having to attack, can just kill everything one after another. Because it triggers, even if this ability knocks out the target, it still triggers again. So, as long as it can kill your first unit, it can potentially kill your entire revive comp single-handedly. The Scorpion has no ability, but it starts with a buff that automatically kills the unit that is damaged by it. Scorpions are extremely effective against big, beefy lines, as long as they don't have melon armor. If they do have melon armor, you have to get the Scorpion to 21 attack before it's effective, which can be done with a high-level Dodo. So Dodo Scorpion is actually a very strong combination late game. Seals, whenever it eats, it gives random friends buffs, which, again, just like the worm, you have to invest a lot into a seal. Sharks, when a friend faints, it gains a buff until the end of the fight. So they're pretty good in a revive comp, but the turkey's better unless you just have a partial. Like, if you just have a tier 3 rooster or level 3 rooster, and that's the only revive unit you have, Shark is good. Because Shark will also benefit from the non-revive units you have. So Shark is like a middle ground in case you can't fully pivot from, say, a beef comp to a revive comp, or from a revive comp to a beef comp, or whatever. Shark lets you kind of play the middle ground. Turkeys are just all about revive. They do have the nice little perk of when you buy a unit after you've bought a turkey, it permanently gives that buff to the unit. But most of the time, the way the turkey's used is once you're in a battle, you use a revive comp, a feint comp, whatever you want to call it, to get that buff on every unit you spit out whenever something dies. The cat. I actually had one run where I used the cat to great effect. If you can get a level 2 or level 3 cat, those effects are crazy. You get a couple cows mixed in with a level 2 cat, and you're giving +6/+6 twice per round if you get one cow. If you get 2 cows, that's +12/+12 in a single round. Cats are amazing for escalating a beef comp well into the late game. Dragons, I feel like, are a trap, because in order for them to do their thing, you have to have 2 slots. One for the dragon, and one for tier 1 pets to buy and sell. And so you're buffing the dragon and 3 other units by keeping a slot open, essentially, and just buying trash level 1s, or tier 1s. And you don't even have a guarantee that you're going to get them, so you might have to re-roll to get tier 1s, to buy, to sell, to re-roll to get tier 1s. It doesn't work super well. The fly, whenever something dies, it summons a fly in its place. So the fly multiplies. Without the turkey, it's pretty bad. With the turkey, it's actually really strong. The gorilla. If you can buff this thing up, the coconut shell is amazing. However, it dies really easily to the scorpion without ever proccing its ability. It is worth noting, unlike some of the other stuff that gets a buff, the coconut shield happens when it gets hurt. And it can get, at level 1, it gets the coconut shield once, level 2 twice, and level 3 3 times. That coconut shield cannot be popped. It just blocks one attack. Even if it's a 50-50 unit hitting him, it blocks one attack. So, unless he's getting hit first before he gets his first coconut shield by something that kills him, he can easily get 2 attacks off, 3 attacks. Depending on how much damage they're doing and how much health he has, he could potentially get 6-7 attacks off just based on the coconut shields. However, if he takes no damage, for example, the attacks that the coconut shield blocks, it doesn't work. Hurt only applies if they take damage. So, from what I understand, they just changed this. Before, even if you took 0 damage, the hurt trigger would proc, which would make this broken. That would, after he took the first hit, he would be able to permanently, like a level 3 gorilla would just guaranteed block 3 attacks. If he was able to get the first coconut shield. So, I support their change to... That is a systemic change they decided to do, is changing it so that when a unit's hurt, it has to take at least 1 damage for hurt to trigger. So, they already changed that, which is one thing. The one thing I could think of off the top of my head that, like, yeah, that should have been changed, and they did, so good on them. Leopards, if you can get their attack really high, it can be good. But, yeah, level 1 leopard is not worth it because there's a 1 in 5 chance that it goes to their beefiest target, in which case it does nothing. Worst case scenario, it hits the gorilla and gives him coconut shield before your scorpion hits him. Mammoth. Whenever he dies, he gives buffs to everyone. So, put him in the front, make him beefy. When he dies, he buffs everyone else. Neat. Snake. You put Snake behind whoever attacks the most, and you get damage. Just random damage to enemies. It's very RNG. A late game Snake can win a battle, and it can lose a battle. Just depends on where it goes. Tiger. The friend ahead casts their ability twice. It does not change as you level him up, so there's no need to ever increase beyond level 1 Tiger. A Tiger is a 3 gold investment to double whoever's in front of him. So if you have a level 3 Snake, it doubles the 15 damage. So it throws out 15 damage twice, every time. If you put him in front of a turkey, if the turkey's level 3, it gives everything +9/+9 twice. So Tigers, literally, you drop 3 gold on it, and it doubles the effectiveness of one of your best units. So, if I were to be commenting on balance, that is one unit I would look at, just saying. The way food works is it's a permanent investment in whatever unit you put it on, which basically means all these early ones, you're paying to win early battles. If you buy basically any of these, apple through meatbone, if you buy any of those, you're investing in an early game unit, and you're hoping that it pays off. The sleeping pill is the exact opposite. First of all, it's the only food item that only costs 1 gold instead of 3. Second of all, it permanently kills something that is on your roster. So, you usually use it on something like an ant or a flamingo to permanently buff other people on your roster and make room for another unit. Other than that is just, you don't put it on anything that doesn't have a good feint effect. Tier 3 is the point where items start becoming somewhat worth it. Given our animal garlic armor reduces all damage they take, or every instance of damage they take by 2. So, 2 damage per attack. So if they're For example, fighting against a revive comp where everything has relatively low attack, comparatively speaking, it can be very effective in allowing it to get a lot of attacks off, like a hippo or a rhino with garlic. Very strong. Salad Bowl just gives 2 random pets, +1/+1. Arguably quite bad. Canned food is only good if you have not already pivoted. If you've already pivoted and you already have your 5 units that you're going to use to late game, or 4 of them even, I would say, it's not worth buying canned food because you're spending 3 gold on future investments. You're basically banking 3 gold into an upgrade for everything else that's not in your roster. If you haven't pivoted yet and you can get canned food, then it's absolutely worth it. Personally, I think it should be available earlier in the game because it is kind of a trap if you're buying it that late in the game, because tier 4 is that's round 9, I think. 1, 3, 5, 7. No, round 7. So round 7, since you have 4 health and you're trying to get 10 wins, round 7 is past the halfway point. That's really late to be investing in future purchases. However, there have been situations where I've just picked up a lot of canned food and waited to pivot until I got access to tier 5 animals. If I had a good enough mid-game team, or if I had enough health left to just lose 3 battles straight, then I absolutely invested in canned food specifically to pivot into something once I got tier 5 pets. Then you get to tier 5. Animal Splash Attack does 5 damage. I really wish the Splash Attack did scale with the attack of the pet, like maybe 10-20% damage, minimum 5 or something like that. Because as it is, it's kind of bad. Like, the only time it's good is if they have something weak standing behind their frontliner. And even then, like, there's just other better things. It is good at popping melon armor, and that's about it. Chocolate is the same as buying another animal. So it gives 1 experience, basically 1 animal purchase, towards upgrading to the next level. Sushi gives 3 random animals, +1/+1. It's pretty mediocre for tier 5. Melon gives the melon armor, again, that's up to 20 damage, block attack. Mushroom gives an animal the ability to revive as a 1/1. That is not good on most animals. Most animals need something to be able to use their ability. So, unless you're in a revive comp, Mushroom's pretty bad. And if you're in a revive comp, usually you already have things reviving, filling out your entire, 5 slots available. So, it's pretty bad. Again, I shouldn't be commenting good or bad or my opinion on anything. Pizza gives 2 random animals, +2/+2, and Steak gives an animal steak armor. In my opinion, the items, the food that gives bonuses should be a little bit stronger. But again, that's a balance thing. I'm not here to talk about balance or to have balanced discussions. I'm just here to talk about the system level play and the core gameplay loop. And that is exactly... I wonder what this is. Play against own pack. Play against all packs. Oh! So you can actually choose to play against expansion packs or just play against the one you've used. Well, since I only showed you the standard pets, I guess I'll just keep playing the standard one. So, the way the game starts, this is the user interface. So you have the options menu up here. You can abandon the game, return to the main menu, etc. If you return to the main menu, the game is saved. It is worth noting, it actually connects your account between the Steam. Like, this is Steam that I'm on right now. However, if I start a game on my phone, I can exit out and then resume it on Steam, or vice versa. I can start a game on Steam and resume it on my phone. So I give them props for that. I'm not very good at networking stuff, and the internet is a big scary thing that as a programmer, I just haven't even started learning to tackle. So yeah, definitely kudos to them. But in the game, you purchase units by buying them from the shop and putting them in your roster. The items are on the right side. At the start of the game, round 1, which the round indicator is here, you can only get tier 1 pets. So round 1 and 2 is tier 1 only. Starting with round 3, you unlock tier 2 pets. Starting at round 5, you unlock tier 3 pets, and so on and so forth, up to, I think it's round 11, where you get tier 6s. However, and this is a very important note, I actually can't. I'm just doing this to show you. Whenever you first go to your first battle, it actually lets you pick from a randomized number of randomized selection of adjectives and nouns. So we're going to have submissive sausages just because. In any case, then you go into a battle. In the battle, you fight against somebody else's team. And the 3 outcomes are win, lose, or draw. I lost that battle. So if I had won, I would have gotten 1 trophy. The goal, like you quote, win the game when you get 10 trophies, when you've won 10 rounds. You lose the game and get a game over if you've lost 4 rounds. So that was 1 out of 4 losses towards losing. If you draw, it doesn't count as a loss or a win. So you're able to continue on in the game with your current team without losing. But it does get a little harder once you get to your 14th and 15th battle, just because everyone else you're fighting at that point has also had 14 or 15 rounds to build up their teams. In any case, the reason I froze the pig... Oh, also, freezing and unfreezing units keeps it around till the next round. So you can just lock a unit that you see in the shop until the next round. And the reason I did that is so I could show you. So again, we're at turn 2. Turn 2 is only available to buy tier 1 units. However, if you combine 3 units, you actually get 1 tier higher than the highest you can get. So when you combine 2 units, it gives the unit that you combine with +1/+1. So you see it's a 2/2 pig, and now it's a 3/3 pig with 1 experience. I combined the other pig, and it's now a level 2 pig with 4/4. And it populated my shop with a tier 2 unit. So the tier 2 unit is stronger than any of the tier 1s I could have gotten. Buying a unit or buying an item costs 3 gold. You start each round with 10 gold, unless you have a swan, which increases it by 1, 2, or 3, depending on the level of the swan. Again, I showed you the 4 health and the 10 victories. That's what those are talking about. And that is the entire UI. So, the core gameplay loop is you go to your shop, you buy pets and items, you build a roster, you level up your roster, you increase their stats, give them perks and abilities, like the apple would allow me to make it a 5/5 pig. And then you send them off to battle other teams. So the arena is an asynchronous battle. You can come and go as you please. You can literally start a team, walk away for a couple days, come back, and play another team. So, 2 losses, 2 health gone. And now tier 2 animals can just appear in the shop, because I've reached round 3. So this is the asynchronous mode. So the asynchronous mode, you can play anytime, you can do whatever. The versus mode, if you click, you can create a private, you can join a private, or you can join a public. I tried this honestly just once, and it was a pretty bad experience because only 2 people joined, so it was 3 people. But it's basically the same as the arena play, except you start with 6 health instead of 4. You can't just come and go. If you leave, then you just forfeit. And it's, I think, up to 8 people. Let me just click this. Yeah, up to 8 people. So it's up to 8 people, and you play through all the rounds together. So at round 1, you're against the other 7 people's round 1 team. For round 2, you're against the other 7 people's round 2 team, etc., until there's 1 person left standing, once everyone else has lost their 6 health. So, very cool. I haven't really messed with it because it doesn't seem like they just now put up here, Versus is out again, let us know if it works. So that's part of the beta. They're trying to get that working and trying to get that figured out. If I streamed, I would probably try to get private, I'd probably try to get a lot of you guys to join a private fight to see how it actually works. Because, yeah, like I said, my one experience was joining public. There were 2 other people. One of them just quit. It was like round 1, and I guess they didn't get what they wanted, so they just left. So it was basically just a one-on-one. And it was a matter of me changing my roster to counter his roster, and him changing his roster to counter my roster. And it was interesting in a chessy kind of way, but it wasn't great. The one thing I can definitely say I approve of, though, the other auto battlers I've tried, literally all the other auto battlers I've tried, there's always a very short time limit where you just have to know. You have to know what all the units do, which units you're looking for, which units are best, which combos work. You just have to know all of it before you go into a match. Whereas this, it gives you a reasonable amount of time to take each turn. So you don't feel that rush, that pressure to go, get it done. Now, it does take longer to play through because each person can take longer on their turns. But that's, you know what? I say that's worth it because if the difference between spending 15 minutes in a round or in a match versus 30 minutes in a match is that I get twice as much time to make my decisions in a tactical and strategic way, I'm all for it. Because if I have the choice between spending 15 minutes getting wrecked over and over again because I'm trying to learn the game, and I have no way of learning the game other than just getting wrecked over and over, it's going to be a lot less fun than just spending 30 minutes learning the game better. And plus, if you're doing poorly, if you're literally losing constantly, the match lasts even less time. So there's really no need to put a really tight time limit on. And I'm not going to name specific auto battlers that put a quick, tight time limit on, but auto battlers are not exciting, action-packed games. If you're trying to design it as that, you're coming about it all wrong. It's not. I feel like that approach, that trying to keep it fast-paced and moving as fast as you can, really makes it more of a novelty experience rather than a deep strategic experience. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I've spent excessive amount of time in the arena mode, just sitting there thinking and pondering over decisions. And really analyzing, what the best move was. And now that I've had that experience, that time where I could sit there and really think about what is my best choice here, now, even though the versus mode does have a bit of a time limit, it's a very reasonable time limit. And with the experience from playing the arena mode, I'm now able to make more educated decisions in the versus mode. So, rather than trying to approach it as a action-packed novelty game, they actually think about it, in my opinion, more like a chess game, which is cool. So, normally part 2 of a modest analysis is where I would go over changes I would make in systemic level things that I would do differently were I to have made the game. But other than just making... I have played... There was one time so far, just once. I dropped into the first round, and I was against more than 3 units. And the only way that can happen is if I was against a round 2 team. So I think that there's something in their matchmaking with the arena mode that it just compares win-loss record between teams. And so if somebody got a draw on round 1, then there's a chance that you can face their team on round 2. Or maybe it was just a weird bug and I wasn't supposed to ever see a round 2 team, but I did. Regardless, I think I'm going to do a quick playthrough in a separate video. This video's long enough. So, yes. I'm going to upload them both at the same time, so you can just immediately jump from this one to that one if you want to see how a full round plays out. And then, I may take another look at the versus mode and see how that goes. But for now, that has been the A Modest analysis of Super Auto Pets. I hope you enjoyed it, and until next time, have a good one.